If you improve just 1% every day, where would you be a year from now? The truth is, you're not stuck, you're simply not climbing. There are two kinds of people in the world, those who react to life and those who rewrite it. If you woke up today with air in your lungs and a dream in your mind, then you have a responsibility to make that dream real. But here's the catch: dreams don't come true because you wish them to. They become reality because you improve relentlessly. In this speech, I will hand you 10 daily keys that unlock everything you've ever wanted: wealth, clarity, freedom, purpose. Miss one and the door may remain closed. Stay with me to the end, because the last key may be the one that changes your life. Self-discipline is not merely a trait, it is the governing force behind every meaningful success in life. It is the invisible bridge between desire and achievement. While desire gives you the vision and faith lends you the courage, it is self-discipline that provides the muscle to move forward when everything inside you screams to quit. It is the ability to do what must be done when it must be done, whether you feel like it or not. The man who governs himself is greater than the man who conquers a city, for the city can be retaken, but once you have mastered yourself, nothing outside of you can control you. Every day you are confronted with choices: to wake up early or sleep a little longer, to invest time in growth or waste it on distractions, to speak words of power or give in to complaint. These small, seemingly inconsequential choices accumulate, stacking like bricks until they form the foundation of your life. Take the example of a young man named Charles who aspired to become a lawyer. He did not come from privilege. He worked nights at a factory, surrounded by noise, fatigue, and the temptation to surrender. Yet, after every shift, while others went to drink or sleep, Charles opened his law books. He read them by candlelight in a cramped apartment, his hands still black with machine grease. No applause, no reward, just a commitment to the vision he held in his mind. For 5 years he did this until he passed the bar. Not because he was the smartest in the room, but because he did what others wouldn't. That is self-discipline in its purest form, doing the hard thing consistently, quietly, and without fanfare. The undisciplined man allows his moods to dictate his actions, letting the winds of distraction pull him in 1,000 directions. But the disciplined individual moves with precision. He is not always the fastest nor the most talented, but he becomes the most unstoppable because his life is built on intentional action. When you train yourself to resist the easy road, you develop the mental muscle required for greatness. Discipline is not a punishment, it is a form of self-respect. When you honor your goals enough to follow through, even when every part of you craves comfort, you announce to the world and to your own subconscious, I am worthy of success. Your thoughts are the architects of your destiny. Every word you speak, every action you take, every habit you form begins with a single thought. And yet, most people allow their minds to run wild like an untrained horse, reactive, scattered, and easily spooked. To achieve anything of lasting value, you must first become the master of your inner dialogue. You must seize control of the invisible currents running through your mind each day, for it is not your environment, your education, or even your talent that determines your outcome. It is the quality of your thinking. The mind left unguarded becomes a breeding ground for fear, doubt, jealousy, and self-sabotage. But when disciplined and directed, it transforms into a powerhouse of creativity, focus, and strength. Consider the example of Elena, a woman who dreamed of becoming a successful entrepreneur. She had the skills, the business plan, and even the initial capital. Yet for years her ventures failed to take off, not because the idea was flawed, but because her thoughts were infected with quiet doubt. Every time she approached a potential investor, she carried in her mind a hidden script. What if they think I'm not good enough? What if I fail again? That script showed up in her tone, her posture, her decisions. It wasn't until she began to confront and rewrite those inner narratives, replacing doubt with determination and fear with faith, that her reality began to shift. She practiced visualization, repeated affirmations with conviction, and caught every negative thought before it could take root. Eventually, her business thrived not because she gained more knowledge, but because she gained mastery over the battlefield within her own mind. The human brain cannot distinguish between an imagined fear and a real threat. This is why the thoughts you allow to dominate your consciousness have such profound influence over your actions. If you consistently think about failure, rejection, or limitation, you will unconsciously seek out proof of these thoughts in your daily experience. Your thoughts are magnetic. They attract circumstances that confirm them. This is not mysticism, it is psychology. If a man wakes up telling himself, "Today will be full of problems," he will act tense, speak curtly, and misinterpret neutral events as personal attacks. On the other hand, the man who begins his day with purposeful, positive thinking will radiate confidence and resilience, drawing opportunity like iron to a magnet. Most people guard their money, their homes, even their social media passwords, but they leave their thoughts wide open to any influence that passes by. News headlines, gossip, complaints, and fears of others are absorbed without question, poisoning the well from which their actions draw. To control your thoughts is to become the gatekeeper of your mind. You must evaluate every idea and belief not by how familiar or popular it is, but by whether it serves your purpose. Just as a gardener uproots weeds to protect the harvest, so must you remove toxic thinking to protect your future. This daily practice is not easy, but it is essential because the only way to build a strong outer life is by first constructing a strong inner one. A man without a definite purpose is like a ship without a rudder, tossed by the waves of distraction, drifting aimlessly, vulnerable to every current that pulls in a new direction. Until you decide what you truly want, you will be at the mercy of what others want from you. You may be busy, even talented, but your efforts will scatter like seeds in the wind, never producing a harvest. Definiteness of purpose is the compass that aligns every thought, word, and action toward a single, unshakable goal. It gives clarity in the midst of confusion, drive in the presence of fatigue, and resolve in the face of failure. It allows you to say no to the noise and yes to the mission. Without it, time slips through your fingers, wasted on pursuits that neither satisfy nor sustain you. Consider the story of a man named David who spent years dabbling in various careers, marketing, teaching, real estate, each one chosen not from passion or vision, but from pressure and practicality. He worked hard in each endeavor, but never gained momentum because his efforts were divided and his mind was uncertain. It was only when he sat down and asked himself the painful, liberating question, "What do I truly want?" that his life began to shift. He realized he had always wanted to become a writer. With this new clarity, his energy transformed. He began waking up at 5 a.m. to write, studying the craft with focus, submitting his work persistently. Within a few years, he had published multiple books and created a life around his calling. The power of his transformation did not come from learning new skills, but from finally directing all his energy toward a clear purpose. People often mistake motion for progress. They chase after opportunity without ever asking whether it aligns with their deeper aim. They get distracted by trends, seduced by temporary success, and trapped in comparison, never realizing they are running someone else's race. But the man or woman who has a definite purpose moves differently. They do not rush, they advance. They do not panic, they plan. Their eyes remain fixed on the summit, and though storms may come, they are not disoriented because they never forget where they are going. Every decision becomes simpler when it is measured against a clear goal. Does this move me forward or does it slow me down? Does this align with my mission or distract from it? Definiteness of purpose also commands the respect of others. The world makes way for the man who knows where he is going. Investors, mentors, partners, they are all drawn to clarity because clarity signals commitment. When you speak with conviction about your aim, others begin to believe in it too. But when you are vague, hesitant, or easily swayed, you repel opportunity without even knowing it. Your definite purpose becomes a silent beacon, signaling to the right people and repelling the wrong ones. And most importantly, it gives you the internal power to endure setbacks because you are not operating from whim or wish. You are driven by a vision that burns too brightly to be extinguished by circumstance. Personal initiative is the spark that ignites progress. It is the rare and vital quality that separates those who wait from those who act. It is the fire within that drives a person to begin to move, to solve problems before being asked, and to keep going long after others have quit. Without initiative, talent lies dormant, ambition remains idle, and opportunity passes by unnoticed. Initiative means you do not wait for ideal conditions, you create them. You do not ask permission to succeed, you take ownership of your direction and responsibility for the outcome. It is the hallmark of every great leader, innovator, and builder of empires, and it is not reserved for the bold few. It is available to anyone willing to step forward and say, "I will go first." Imagine a woman named Clara working in a corporate office, unnoticed among dozens of equally capable employees. While others did only what was expected, Clara studied problems that no one else wanted to touch. She stayed late not for praise, but because she saw a process that could be improved and took it upon herself to redesign it. She did not wait for instruction. She became the source of improvement. When management discovered the changes, they not only recognized her effort, they promoted her to lead the entire department. Clara was not the most educated nor the most experienced, but she possessed something far rarer: personal initiative. She didn't wait for a title to lead. She acted with purpose and courage, and in doing so, created her own path. In every area of life, the person who demonstrates initiative becomes indispensable. Whether you are an entrepreneur, employee, student, or artist, you will never rise by doing the bare minimum. The marketplace rewards those who go beyond the call of duty, who see what needs to be done and act without being told. Initiative turns ideas into results. It turns learning into action, and it turns a passive existence into a life of momentum. A man with initiative does not see obstacles as roadblocks, but as invitations to grow. He takes the lead in solving problems, even when they are not his responsibility, because he understands that leadership is not given, it is claimed through action. Waiting is the silent assassin of progress. Those who wait for the perfect moment often wait forever. They wait for more money, more time, more certainty, more motivation. But initiative thrives in the face of uncertainty. It is the decision to begin where you are with what you have, trusting that movement itself will generate answers and attract the resources needed for the next step. Every great invention, every bold career move, every revolutionary idea began with a single act of initiative, a person who refused to sit idle while others hesitated. The world belongs to the doers, not the dreamers. Dreaming is the seed, but initiative is the hand that plants it in the soil of action. And only through that planting does anything ever grow. A positive mental attitude is not a shallow smile or a denial of reality. It is a conscious decision to focus your mind on solutions, possibilities, and growth, regardless of the circumstances. It is the deep inner conviction that no matter how dark the moment, there is always a way forward. PMA is not simply optimism. It is the mental posture of a person who has trained themselves to believe that setbacks are setups, that obstacles carry opportunity, and that every difficulty holds within it the seed of an equal or greater benefit. Your attitude colors your perception, and your perception shapes your decisions. A man with a negative mental attitude will see only problems, threats, and limitations, even when surrounded by opportunity. But a man with a positive mental attitude will find resources in ruins and direction in disorder, because he has disciplined his mind to look for what can be done instead of what cannot. Take the example of Marcus, a factory worker who lost his job during an economic downturn. Around him, many of his peers fell into despair, complaining, blaming the government, and waiting for a miracle to restore their security. But Marcus chose to approach his situation differently. Instead of wallowing in defeat, he asked himself what skills he had, what knowledge he could gain, and what problems in the world he might be able to solve. With no formal business education, he began offering basic home repair services to neighbors. At first, the work was small and inconsistent, but he carried it out with enthusiasm and integrity. His positive energy became contagious, and word spread. Within 2 years, Marcus owned a small but growing construction company. The catalyst was not a government bailout or a lucky break, it was his attitude. While others cursed the storm, Marcus adjusted his sails. The power of PMA lies in its compounding nature. When you choose to maintain a positive attitude, even in difficulty, you begin to attract circumstances, people, and ideas that align with that mindset. You become more solution-oriented, more courageous, and more resilient. Opportunities do not often present themselves to the bitter or cynical, because those individuals repel the very help and insight they need. But the man who greets the day with hope, who sees rejection as redirection, and who refuses to speak defeat over his future, opens the door to unseen possibilities. PMA allows you to navigate setbacks without being shattered by them. It fuels your persistence, sharpens your focus, and shields you from the poison of doubt and despair. More than anything, your mental attitude becomes the environment in which your dreams either thrive or wither. A positive mind fertilizes those dreams, feeds them with energy, and shields them from the pests of fear and worry. When you hold fast to a constructive mindset, you begin to interpret events differently, not as final verdicts, but as feedback, as lessons, as parts of a larger process you are destined to master. Life will test you. It will shake you and stretch you. But how you respond internally, what you say to yourself in the dark, is what ultimately determines whether you rise or fall. PMA is the quiet power behind every comeback, the unseen force behind every extraordinary life. It is not magic, it is mental discipline fueled by belief in purpose, in potential, and in the promise that regardless of where you start, your attitude can lift you beyond limits. In a world that moves at lightning speed, where entire industries rise and fall within the span of a few years, continuous learning and adaptation are not luxuries, they are survival tools. The man who ceases to learn does not remain where he is. He falls behind. He becomes outdated, not because he lacks intelligence, but because he stops sharpening the blade. Knowledge, like any tool, dulls when unused and decays when unchallenged. To grow, to rise, to lead, you must become a student of life itself. Every day is a classroom. Every experience, conversation, mistake, and success contains a lesson, but only for the one who is humble and hungry enough to look for it. Learning is not limited to books or degrees. It is a mindset of curiosity, of asking better questions, of seeking truth beyond what is comfortable or familiar. Consider the story of Jasmine, a successful retail manager who had been in the industry for over a decade. She was known for her reliability, her dedication, and her people skills. But as the digital age accelerated and e-commerce began disrupting traditional retail, many of her peers resisted change, clinging to the old ways. Jasmine chose a different path. She began studying online marketing after work, attending webinars, reading business and technology articles, and even teaching herself the basics of website design and analytics. When her company faced massive restructuring, most managers were let go, but Jasmine was promoted. Why? Because she had evolved. She didn't wait for change to force her hand. She adapted ahead of time. She became more valuable because she kept learning when others had settled. Adaptation requires a willingness to let go of outdated methods and beliefs. It demands the courage to admit that what once worked may no longer serve you. This is not a mark of weakness, but of wisdom. The strongest trees are not those that resist the wind, they are those that bend without breaking. The same applies to the mind. Rigidity is the enemy of relevance. You must be flexible in your strategies, but unwavering in your principles. Continuous learning sharpens your awareness, allowing you to spot trends, anticipate shifts, and make bold moves when others freeze in uncertainty. It fuels innovation and empowers you to bring new value to every endeavor. More importantly, learning is a source of inner wealth. It expands your perspective, deepens your confidence, and strengthens your problem-solving abilities. When you commit to growing your mind, you become less dependent on external validation or temporary success. You begin to trust your ability to adapt to any circumstance, knowing that as long as you can learn, you can lead, and as long as you can grow, you can overcome. Every setback becomes a case study. Every challenge becomes a lesson in disguise. The man who learns continuously never runs out of options because his mind, trained by practice and honed by humility, sees doors where others see walls.